All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we have the one, the only, the creator of Miami Bass. You already know it's MC8 of MC8 and the Posse right here on the line. How you doing this evening?
How you doing, my brother? How you doing?
I am doing great, man. I am doing absolutely great. I hope everything's all well out in Miami during these terrible times.
Oh yeah, it's fine. It's beautiful.
But I want to ask you, MC8, if you don't mind me asking, like, what made you decide to get into the music industry from the beginning?
Um, that was kind of a tricky situation because I didn't necessarily want to get into the music business. I just was kind of in the area, and it happened. My dad, he had a record store, and I kind of, was working there summers and stuff like that. And I was just in the, just in the area of the music, and I love music. I, dealt with music, and he actually decided to make a record. Unbeknownst to me, I had no idea that he was doing that, and I just kind of was riding with him one day after leaving the record store closing up, and we wound up in the studio. I didn't know that we were going to a studio, but that's how it happened. He was actually doing a record on MC Chief and Sexy Lady, and that's how I wound up in the studio the first time. And she just asked me when I got there, what did I think about the track that they were doing, and what did it sound like to me. And I told her, well, it was cool because she knew me from the record store, and she knew, I was a young kid, but I was, really in tune into the music. So I told her, I said, sounds good, but if it was me, I would do it totally different. And that's when she got me to talk to the engineer, who was Frank Cornelius, and he was producing the record, to convince him for me to give him my input. And then he was a little reluctant on that, but then she got my dad to, since he was paying for everything, to use his, authority, and he asked Frank to pull the track to the side, and we did a whole nother track, and boom, we did Beef Bar, and it came out, and it was a smash hit.
And also, speaking of smash hits, your songs, both Bass Rock Express and Bass Mechanic, are considered to be the start of Miami bass. I have to ask you, how does it feel knowing that you are the creator of just an amazing genre of music?
It really boggles the brain when I think about it from time to time, because it's like, wow, I just look to the heavens and think to the Father, like, wow, you bestowed that upon me. I mean, to me, it's a great thing. It might not be nothing to somebody else, but to me, it's just really something, because now in the world, bass is in everything. You can't move without it. And there was a time that nobody wanted a part of it, and so to see where it's at today, and to know that that was just something out of the top of my head, just a feeling, a vibe that I wanted to pursue, and given the opportunity, of course, by my dad, it's just a great thing.
And when you actually had the idea for that, like that specific genre of hip hop, like what inspired you to do that? And did you think like it would actually be as big as it is today when you first created it?
No, never had a clue. What inspired it? It was just my dad walking into the record store at the time, and him realizing, because this was like a year or so later after we did Beatbox, and him realizing and saying to me, you the one that really made that our first hit record, which was Beatbox. And he was like, why don't you make a record? And I was like, I was making a mixtape on the system, and I was like, okay, impress him. I was just trying to, because I didn't live with him. I lived with my mom in Liberty City, but I would come up to Fort Lauderdale and spend summers and stuff like that with him. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it, whatever. But the only thing I could look at on the stereo was the bass knob, and I really loved the bass. So my first inclination was bass.
Most definitely bass, bass, and more bass.
Exactly.
And also, Aid, your original work was also recorded on the record label Foresight, which is considered to be the first independent hip hop label of the South. I have to ask you, can you tell us a bit more about that particular record label and what was it like actually working for it?
Um, Foresight Records was a record label that my dad had the genius idea of starting. And I guess he was, getting records out of New York at the time, the Sugar Hill and, different things like that. And he was selling records like crazy. And he was just an entrepreneurial type thinker, period. I mean, he had like 4 or 5 different businesses and stuff going on. So this was just another avenue that he saw of, making another income stream because he was selling so many different records, hip hop records and stuff like that at the time. It was limited because they were all just coming out of New York, but it was just very advantageous as he saw it could be. And he decided to start his own label, and he came up with the name Foresight Records, and boom, it was born.
And also, one more so on the topic of Foresight, I noticed something on your Facebook about something about that Foresight Entertainment presents No Filter. Can you tell us a bit more about that project, and also where can our listeners actually give it a listen?
No Filter, you're talking about the one you're talking about?
Yes, that one, yes.
Yeah, you can get that on the mixtape. What's the name of that? You can Google it. Miss Drea, No Filter. Um, I forget the mixtape thing name. I can't remember right now. But yeah, you can Google that. No Filter by Miss Drea, and it's on the mixtape outlets and stuff like that on digital media.
And also, backtracking to the 80s, you released the album Just Something to Do under the name MC8 and the Posse. I have to ask you, tell us a story behind that album, and how did you and the other members meet?
Well, I need to clarify here because I know some people say MC8, but it's MCADE. And how did we meet? I met Clayton, Clayton Rowland. I met him uh, through another guy, because we had the record store. We had, a couple record stores, and then we had one in the Lauderdale Mall where everybody came, everybody hung out because it was like something straight out of Crush Groove where you had the different people hung out, everybody hung out. They knew we were making music, so it was just like the hottest place around, and everybody wanted to come through and rather just be in that area and have that feeling because we had the dopest record store, we had the dopest record label, and it was all like this mom and pop type vibe, but with a commercial effect. It was real dope. And actually, A.D.E, he came through the record store too. Him and a buddy came through, and everybody, we all met right in the record store, and that's how it went down.
And I do want to say, DJ A.D.E is such a phenomenal individual. I interviewed him a few months back. Um, Very, very cool guy. I gotta say that for a fact. Very, very cool guy.
Yeah. Eddie's a great guy, man. We're real good friends, and we've been good friends for
also, you have a song called "Nightmare on A.D.E. Street." I have to ask you, what's the inspiration behind that song, and was it related to Freddy Krueger?
It was exactly related to Freddy Krueger. Krueger. I'm, I'm a movie buff, and I just thought it was, because I see a movie and, my brain would just be thinking, like, relating it to music and how could it relate to music and um, just the idea, because for me, that's how a lot of things are. I don't necessarily need, you know, some musical pattern or something like that. It's just if I get the idea, then the rest of it, the rest of the music and everything, I'm basically just gonna freestyle it.
And also, the one thing I do want to ask, because when I interviewed DJ A.D.E, he mentioned that like overseas, like you guys still have a huge fan base to this day. How does it feel, like 30 plus years going, and you people are still jamming to the very first A.D.E record?
Oh man, it's great. It's a great respect. I have a great appreciation for it because they they love it like intensely, and they really have it up there. A lot of times they call me master, idol, stuff like that, and I'm a spiritual guy, so I really don't vibe with those kind of terms, but I understand, where they're coming from. They just have great admiration and respect for me, and it's really something to be admired. I really appreciate it, and love their respect, man, and it's just bananas over there.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, A.D. Like many more years to come, probably after both of us are still after both of us are gone. I still think that same level of respect is still gonna be there for you because you started something big, and I don't think that is ever gonna go away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When I think about those kind of things, it goes back to the first question, or one of the first questions you asked me, and it's just, it just blows the mind. Like, wow, I'm just this regular guy, and to have such an impact and to literally create a genre of music, it's just bananas. That's great.
And also in the year '96, you released the album Ain't No Fang Like the Game. I have to ask you, tell us a bit more about that album and what was the inspiration behind it?
Um, the inspiration behind that, I basically, I just did things off of vibe. I've always built things off of feeling, and at that time, that was the kind of vibe and feeling that was going on, and I was dealing with another new artist at the time I was producing, which was his name was MC Cooler, and he had a lot of new ideas and different ways of thinking, and it meshed and infused with my ways, and it was just something 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 to do, just another just something to do, but with a different title.
And also, aside from the music type of things, I also saw on Facebook you have your own book as well called What is the Soul? Can you tell us a bit more about your book? And of course, where can our listeners buy themselves a copy?
What is the soul? What is the soul is a book that begs to ask the question, what is the soul? Because what you have to understand is very intricate parts to us, and this is more on a profound level. Um, this is on a very much spiritual plane, because if we understood more about ourselves, we could deal with ourselves a lot better and make a lot of important it is to even know this. Because a lot of people think, well, it doesn't make sense, or why does it make sense, or whatever they may think. But to read the book, then you can understand. And it's like, learning how to master oneself and understand how this knowing this knowledge and information can help you so much in life and help us as people, period. So What is the Soul is a very important book that was never taught to me by no one, no man, but the Father gave that information to me where it blew my mind, and I beg people to read that, because to me that's the greatest thing I could have ever gave to the world, via the Father. I think that's my best work, some of my best work, and it's not so much my work, it's his work, but I think that's the best thing I ever had a part of. And you can find it at Amazon and, all the digital medias and, stuff like that, Barnes and Nobles and stuff like that. It's called What is the Soul? I beg you, more than anything else, my music is great and all that. I love it, but What is the Soul is really the most thing I would want people to check out in life, period.
If you don't mind me asking quickly, do you have hard copies available as well for like the people that want to collect like hard copy books?
Yes, there are hard copies. So you can go right on, like I said, Amazon and order it, and they'll send you a hard copy, or you can, read it online or however you want.
And also, back in May, so not too long ago, you were a part of Battle of the Legends. Yourself, MC A.D.E. versus Big Man. I have to ask you, tell us a bit more about that event, and also, what was the outcome? Who happened to win?
I won, but that was really like some type of, it was like a game show or what have you. But yeah, I won, no problem.
Hey, that's what's up. You know what I mean? You can't
Yeah.
mess with a Miami-based legend. You just can't. So I gotta ask, AD, what's next for you? Is there anything that I happen to miss? Anything else you want to promote? Will we still have you here live on the radio?
Yes, I have a new single that just dropped on my daughter. It's called Strangers in the Club. Um, and that's on all social media, digital platforms. You can go download that. It's called Strangers in the Club. It's a hot new track. It's dope. People can go check that out. I'm working on some other stuff that really will benefit the Miami culture, the music culture, the South Florida culture. It's a big project, and we really want people to stay tuned for that. I'm not really gonna get too much on that. Also, working on a online magazine, and in that online magazine we'll also have like a podcast, and I'll be basically interviewing and talking to other artists, or great bass legends or what have you. So it'll be very interesting. People get to see me more. They'll get to see other artists who probably haven't seen or talked, spoken to me for a while or what have you. But it'll be very entertaining for us to be together and do these kind of things. I'm very interested for all the fans and family to see this kind of rollout happen. So be on the lookout for that as well.
It actually sounds phenomenal. You know what I mean? We have each other on Facebook, so I'm sure you're going to share the links, and I'm sure I'm going to be up in there watching as well.
Definitely.
So MC ADE, this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that comes on the platform. just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to, and of course your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you, and if they're not already doing so.
They can follow me at on Facebook at MCADE Bass Mechanic. They can get on Instagram at MCADE Creator. MCADE Creator of Miami Bass. And yeah, did you get that? Because somebody was trying to call me here.
Oh, yeah, it came through. Yes.
Okay, and that's pretty much, I guess, Twitter, MCADE, and that's pretty much it on the social media.
I want to say, MCADE, just first and foremost, thank you so much for providing not only myself, but our listeners with 21 minutes of your time. And of course, also, thank you so much for your contribution to hip-hop. You helped create a genre that is still irrelevant and still being listened to all over the world today. So thank you so much for that. And I'm looking forward to seeing your new podcast and, of course, reading your brand new magazine when it gets released.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank you for, giving me the time to speak to all the great folks in the world. And I want to thank all the fans and bass lovers all over the world that we know what bass really is, and our love for it. And just know that I truly love bass. And man, it's something now that's going to be here forever. So I want to say to all the people and all the fans that we did it, because it takes a collective of all of us, and I love all you guys.
I want to say, A.D.E, again, thank you so much. You have yourself a wonderful night, and most definitely stay safe out there during this terrible pandemic.
You too, my brother.
Thank you so much.